Good evening, Holliston. Welcome to the February 9th Select Board meeting. We're going to get things started with some exciting introductions. We have the new center director, an old friend, Cynthia Listevnik. If you want to come on up,
sure.
Join us at the table. We also have Cheryl here, who's now officially our assistant town manager.
Right.
So, Cynthia, welcome.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank
It's
you.
so exciting
Happy
to see
to be
you.
here.
Yes. Just give you a moment to just sort of, if people don't know who you are, to introduce yourself, and then
Sure.
tell us a little bit about what's going on over there, and
Sure.
anything you want to share with us. And then
Yeah.
we might have a couple questions.
Okay.
And, go ahead.
Well, I'm Cynthia Listevnik. I've lived in town about 16 years now. I was on the school committee for a good 10 years and started as the outreach coordinator at the center in 2023, in November of 2023, and then just recently was promoted to the director. And I'm very excited to get started with we've got a lot of plans going forward, but the primary focus right now is getting ourselves to full staff because we've been short-staffed for 6 months now. So it's only been like 2.5 professional staff members plus drivers for the last 6 months. And we've tried to maintain services exactly as it's been kind of status quo the whole time. So it's just a lot of ducks on a pond with our feet just like kicking furiously underneath us. So, and keeping calm in the service. So, so we're very excited. I'm hoping I met with Cheryl today. We talked about revising outreach position, hopefully posting soon, so we can get ourselves to full staff. This will be the first time that I'm doing a budget, so that'll be interesting. I'm very used to the school committee format, which is very different, and I'm sure you're not going to give me $40+ million either, so that'll be different for me. Right now, we're working on, obviously, budget and looking for staffing, but developing our partnerships with our community partners. We just started getting Spoonfuls, which is a food recovery program that's local, that gets from local businesses and brings that to us on a weekly basis. We just started that about 4 weeks ago. And it's been great. I think it's been a really great response from the community. They're really happy to have those additional food support, especially now when a lot of benefits are being cut. SNAP benefits in particular are being cut, and I think this is helping to fill some of that gap. Not all of it, but at least it's just one more piece of the puzzle, along with our partners at the Holliston Food Pantry. We have a new lunch program that we are doing with Keefe Tech. So our culinary department from Keefe Tech is going to be coming monthly. Unfortunately, we're supposed to start in January to come on Tuesday, but we had the snowstorm and they were closed, so we'll be hoping to welcome them in February. We're starting a new aquatics class partnership with the Willows, which is an assisted living facility in Medway that has a phenomenal pool for aquatics that is it's like a what's the entry? It's like a wheelchair accessible entry, so you don't have to walk
Ramp
into it.
access.
Yeah, thank you, ramp access. And so we're starting that in March, which is very exciting. I'm continuing the work with our health and safety response team to support our residents within the other departments, and planning a open house that we're hoping to do with a lot of our other community partners and other departments as well, hopefully probably in the fall at this point. So that's some stuff that we're working on right now. Just a little.
A little busy.
A little busy, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I was
Yeah.
actually going to say, what are your priorities? But it sounds like you
Well,
already
I
have
just
quite
thought
a
I'd
few.
throw them all out there.
I know,
There's
that's-
more, but I'm going to try to keep it brief.
So you can have time here. I think one question I'll preempt everybody with is just, what can we do to support you? Are there any things that this board can do to help you in any way?
I mean, the budget's coming up, so I think that like I said, I haven't done one before, so I'll have to see how that goes, and I'm
Okay.
hoping to get support for our budget for the staff that we're looking for.
Okay.
And for whatever
Okay.
I mean, I don't know, the Council on Aging Board, when we did the architectural study, didn't look to want to support a new or building for that site,
Right.
but are interested in looking at partnering with the town around, at some point, a community center.
Okay.
So I think you can see some advocacy on that.
Yeah.
As but we have other things that we're focusing on right now as a town, but I think that we want to get ourselves in the pipeline for that.
Absolutely.
As part of a building committee that I'm sure
Yeah.
will be formed at some point.
Yeah.
So,
There's
but that's very
lot-
long-term, I
we have-
know, but.
we'll have lots of buildings.
Yes, I know, but I feel like that's part of our,
Yes,
future
absolutely.
planning, right? So,
It's
Yeah.
great. Open it up to the board, Tina. Do you have any comments, thoughts, questions?
Just two things. Welcome and congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm thrilled that you're in the role that you're in. You're going to do a wonderful job there.
Thank
You are
you.
a wonderful person. And I know you care deeply about the people in the town of Holliston, from the little ones that you started with in school committee all the way up to the seniors. So I'm thrilled that you're in the role that you're in. Two things. I was just checking liaison assignments. I am actually the select board liaison
Oh,
for the Council
yay.
on Aging. So we will connect, because I
Great.
would like to learn how you're approaching the budget this year, and also understand how the dwindling of ARPA dollars, right, like they all need to be expended.
Yes.
The end of this year, if there's any impact on your budget. So we'll
Okay.
sit and have a chat, hopefully.
okay.
about that.
Transportation would be a big one,
Okay,
that's what I
yep.
would say.
So that's one thing. And then the other thing I would just say, like in the coming weeks, months, would love to sit down and chat with you as well. We're going to look at a e-bike policy for the town of Holliston. That
okay.
will bring some changes, but I think that's the best thing, is that we address education, and we know our seniors are riding e-bikes, rightly so. And so there's potential for opportunity for education for e-bike safety with our seniors
Yeah.
that I think we should explore regardless, but certainly as a complement to an e-bike policy in the town. So
Oh,
those
okay.
are just two things off the top of my list, and again, welcome.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tina. David?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
obviously. You mentioned and alluded to some of the staffing concerns. What are kind of your top priorities there in the short
Well,
term?
to get someone in to replace my former position as an outreach coordinator or an outreach social worker is what I'm looking for. And then I think we could use some more programmatic staff support and navigation support. So I feel like as someone who was in that role previously, I can see that the needs are greater than I think what that current job description had listed in terms of housing needs, financial needs, mental health support needs, caregiver support needs, Alzheimer's and cognitive challenges supports, and programming. So I think that we could use more support on that specifically. And then we actually just submitted a request to Sue Stone at the Holliston High School for a social media and marketing intern. So we're hoping that we'll get some support there. And then Cheryl and I had mentioned, or Cheryl had mentioned earlier, talking about the senior work-off program that we're hoping to, just, maximize what we can get from what we already have as existing structures, but we know we also need some other programming support as well. So
Delighted to hear. It sounds like you're already leaping in with strategic importance, so I'm excited.
great, thank you.
And just to jump off a little bit on what Cynthia just mentioned, because her and I had talked a little bit about this previously, and Cheryl and I, this is one thing that now Cheryl's going to leap right into, is really making sure that the seniors in town are aware of the opportunity with the senior tax work-off program. Historically, it hasn't been, just frankly, it really hasn't been utilized.
No.
I think right now we have one. So I think we want to make sure that that is a resource that's available to, we want to make sure that people know it's a resource that is available to them. And so I think Cheryl and Cynthia, I think, will be working a lot on that in the coming months.
And I know Kevin Rudden, our assessor,
Yes.
goes to the
Yep.
center frequently
Yep.
to answer
Yes,
questions
he does,
and talk
yeah.
about programs and things like that as
Yep.
they come up, because I know a lot of people have questions about the taxes. Everybody's been
Yeah.
talking.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm sure Kevin will be a partner in that effort too, about the tax work-off program as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
Absolutely. Well, welcome.
Thank
It's
you.
wonderful to see you.
Thank you.
We're so glad that you're here and getting up and running. And it sounds like you're going to sit down with Tina at
Yes.
some point. And
I'm excited. It's great.
But if any of us can do anything to support you, help you in any way, don't hesitate to reach out and
I
call
will.
her. And
I appreciate it.
we'll be there.
Thank you. I appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you so
I
much.
brought a few things for you just to look at.
Oh, very nice.
It's show and tell. So I don't know if you've heard of the the Adelman. If you haven't, you should read the little article that was in the Globe about our Adelman.
Yes.
And this is just a current newsletter. And then just, I don't know if you already saw our at a glance from the calendar year, so I just thought I'd bring those
That's
things.
awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So much, Cynthia. Have a wonderful evening.
Thanks, Cynthia.
You too.
All right. So, we're kind of in a weird spot here because we got about 15 minutes before a water rate hearing. And I don't want to get us too deep into the, because I think the DPW conversation
We're
is
going to need a little bit more
longer
time
than
than
that.
15 minutes.
Would people be okay maybe if we do the school building committee? I think we could probably bang that out in 15 minutes or so. So that way we can continue to move ahead and we're not wasting time here. So, all right. So we're going to go a little out of order. We're going to go to the number 3 at this time. We're going to look at the school building committee development discussion. Now, I had, we proposed potentially putting together a working group and having somebody from this board and then maybe several members from the school committee coming and working with a group to just put together, a proposal for what the school building committee would consist of and potential charge. The one I had found as sort of a starting point was Concord had a middle school. I mean, it's, it's obviously, we're not Concord, but at the same time, it's sort of a little place to start, some ideas and things like that on relationships and expectations of this particular group. So it wasn't necessarily like, this is what we have to do. I mean, basically, the conversation tonight, what I was hoping for is just basically to talk about, does a working group make sense? Does those particular topics for the working group okay? The MSBA has very particular roles that need to be filled, but it's not necessarily, it can be, we have a little bit of flexibility because some people can wear multiple hats because there's a lot of roles.
Right.
And if every single role had a separate position, it would be a very large group and potentially difficult to manage. So interested to hear your thoughts from both of you, if that makes sense. Obviously, we don't need to get into the details. I think basically what I want to sort of keep this as a high level is that the working group, what is the expectations of a working group, and does a working group make sense for this exercise? I think, given everything else that's going on for everybody, it kind of makes sense to have a small group kind of get together and make a proposal to the select board and the school committee in that sense. So, if you guys have any thoughts or objections or contributions, I'm all ears.
Just a tactical one to begin with. So you've been riding this rodeo a lot longer than I have. What do you think, given all the hats that need to be worn, but also the workability of different sized working groups, what do you think is kind of like an optimal number for something to move ahead but still have redundancy?
I mean, I would probably say, like, the group that I can point to is when we had Envisioning Future Holliston, the original conception had 17 members, and just getting a quorum was a challenge.
Yes.
So I would probably say 7 to 9 potentially, but obviously, what are other towns doing? What makes sense? So just from where I sit, that's kind of what I would say, but, I'd be interested to hear what other people think. I think that's part of the exercise with a working group, is to say, hey, we looked at a couple different things, and we talked to a few different towns, we asked some questions, and we heard this kind of worked well for us, so going forward. So that's kind of how it's where I sit, but
Yeah.
It's
I
obviously a
think
long-term.
Instinct level, I'm a fan of the 2 pizza team, so I think that's about right as well. 7 to 9 people.
Okay.
Just enough.
What is a 2-pizza team?
It's a group that's large enough and small enough that 2 pizzas can feed them if they're getting together.
Okay.
It's kind of like just a natural delimiter of like how many people can be around a table before you start having to like negotiate too much for what's on the table.
Or for what slices of how many
For the
slices
slices,
of pizza?
yeah. So
I gotcha.
yeah, 7 to 9 is about right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other thoughts here?
I think I think there's some questions that we'll probably want to go down in terms of like representation of different viewpoints.
Yeah. Well, but I think that's what the
part-
working
yeah,
group.
part
I
of the
think the
working
working
group's
group would
charge,
kind of say, hey, why don't you guys kind of go through it? And, you know, I would ask that, you know, Frank and David Jordan on the school side kind of all,
I like it.
you know, be part of that, that conversation and being able to sort of see, like, what makes sense.
And then my follow-up question on that is kind of like, for that working group to start actually giving us feedback, what's your idealized timeline?
What I was going to propose is that we have something that we could review by the end of March.
Okay.
And I know that's a little bit aggressive.
It's tight,
but
yeah,
I
it's
think the
tight.
intention is to try to have some kind of a group that could potentially make recommendations to town meeting if we do a feasibility study at that time.
All right.
So being
I'm
able to
on
have
board.
that input, I think, would be valuable from where I sit. And-
Just going to back you up for a second. The working
Yeah.
group would look to, the timeline would be establish a working group that comes back with recommendations to establish a school building committee in time for town meeting, not the working group. Got it. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Do you have any?
Yeah, I have a couple of thoughts. I definitely think the working group is a strong way to start the process.
Okay.
So I'm glad that that's still on the table. I would like to be a part of it for sure.
Okay.
I think that there's a lot to discuss. Frank, I think you shared a school building committee charge from another community. You mentioned Concord.
Yeah, I sent
And
it.
then, okay, thank you. And then we have the template from the MSBA as well. And I was really struck in going through it in some level of detail, how the charge and who we have as members of the school building committee can really represent some of the strengths in Holliston, which are going to be unique to Holliston. And so I'd like to be a part of that conversation.
Okay.
I think of like our public safety teams that we have that collaborate with the schools, youth and family services. We have some very strong supports around our schools.
Yep.
And that's, I think, fairly unique to Holliston, or at least a very special thing here in Holliston. So I'm really interested to see that represented in the school building committee
Okay.
charge and membership. But I don't think I'm alone in feeling that way.
Yeah.
But I'd like to be a part of that conversation.
Okay.
I think that the Concord example pointed out how establishing clear lines of communication through the charge is important. I came away from reading it with a couple questions. Well, how did they actually do that in Concord? I'd like to be a part of something that is establishing a charge that has really clear expectations of who's doing what.
Okay.
And
Sure.
so, yeah,
Okay.
all on board with that.
Okay. I know I have two members of the school committee here. I don't want to put either of them on the spot, but if either of them want to, Dan raised his hand. Dan, you want to make a comment? You got to unmute yourself there, big guy. There we go. You just identify yourself and then
They had to allow me, but I'll defer to the chair if she'd like to speak first.
Go ahead, Dan.
she said go ahead.
So I think that this sounds great. Just a couple points. I mean, Ben, I think we definitely need the working group to come up with a the ballpark for the study.
Yep.
Before town meeting. So again, the sooner the possible,
Yep.
the sooner the better. One thing reading through the Concord charge that was interesting is that didn't occur until after they had approved the feasibility study. So I think we're kind of we might want to sort of be working on, and it may be the same working group, but there'd be two paths, right? There's the sort of the how are we working together going forward, which is the more that charge bit, versus the sprint to town meeting right now to get the correct, figure out what the correct request for funding is.
Well, that's an interesting point, and I think what we could, the way I would look at it is that the working group could make that as the recommendation. Hey, this is what we want to do, and I'm okay with that kind of flexibility of like, hey, we don't have enough time, so we're going to make a recommendation here, or we need to give us an extra 2 weeks or whatever, if that makes sense. To that point, and I'm fine with doing that. I mean, the expectation is, we're putting an article on town meeting. I just wanted to see if this body has an opportunity to weigh in on that exercise.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm looking for.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's okay. Go ahead.
No, I was going to just say, just keep in mind, I think that since a school building committee will not have been set up, I would want the school committee through first the budget subcommittee, which I chair, and then the full school committee to weigh in on the amount of the request, obviously using
Sure.
the work of the working group.
Yeah, no,
So
and
that-
you're,
that obviously takes time.
yes, and absolutely. I mean, you know, we want this to be as collaborative as possible, so we absolutely want to hear from the school committee and whatever path that follows. If it comes from you, if it comes from the whole committee, it doesn't, you know, that's up to you guys to decide that. Of course, we'd want to hear your recommendation and your weigh in on this process as well.
Yeah, that's great. And just so you know, Dr. Jordan has worked
Yep.
with, worked hard to find comparable districts. You know, we now have, like, Keith Tech has a number that they're going forward with for
Yeah.
their feasibility study. There are a lot of numbers, but I think it's important to try to get it, you don't want to be too low because you don't want to have
Yep.
to ask for more money, but you also don't want to be so high that you kind of leave a significant amount of money sort of sitting there for a while where we're needing to be reallocated later. So I want to make sure that, he gets the support of,
Yes,
Keith,
absolutely. And
right?
So I didn't want to get too detailed right now in that because I think the working group can weigh that if that's what they want to do. What's their recommendation for a school building committee? And along that line, if the feasibility study, we can just make sure that the working group has that as part of the charge to just sort of look at the feasibility study and is the school building committee, can we get them seated and working fast enough, or does there need to be some other recommendation from the working group in this capacity? That's fine, I mean, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I would just say that I think, personally, my prioritization would be get the number figured out right and get everyone solid with that and defendable for town meeting.
Yep.
And then work on the sort of the bigger plan, which is, I think, the charge and
Sure.
which is very important. I'm not minimizing that at all, right? But I'm looking at sort of what is the sprint over the next 4 to 6 weeks versus the marathon over the next 2 to 3 years. And I think that charge is going to be incredibly important. And I think it's also part of the MSB process too, parts of it anyway,
Okay.
for the next 2 to 3 years. But how do we get to town meeting and how do we get that approval for funding at town meeting? I think is the immediate thing. And
Okay.
that's why I'm thinking 2 different sort of paths, maybe by the same team, but at least 2 different sort of work streams.
Okay. All right.
My 2 cents.
Okay. Thank you. Sarah, did you want to make any weigh in on anything?
No,
Okay.
I think, I guess.
If you do have to come to the microphone, they won't be able to hear you. It's okay. You're more than welcome to.
No, I think just trying to understand really how we're going to have the working group and then merge that into the school building committee, or is it going to stay 2 separate?
Well, my thought was with the conversation about the school building committee is the working group would look at and make a recommendation on what the school building committee should consist of. It
Okay.
might be the same people.
Yep.
It might be different. I don't know. We'd have to be able to sort of look at what are the roles that need to be filled, and
Right.
then make a recommendation on how to go that way.
Okay.
I mean, it is a long-term thing, so things can shift and change and things like that, but being
Right.
able to have those conversations lightly, because trying to do it here is hard.
Difficult,
You know,
yes.
in public meetings with lots of people and things like that and inputs. Being able to have something that we can look at and evaluate, I think is the real goal I see
Mm-hmm.
from this, to be able to have something that we can evaluate and think about.
Okay. No, that makes sense.
And I don't have a problem, to Dan's point, if the working group wants to weigh in on the feasibility study, or they say, it's too much, we need to go different, that's fine.
Sure.
I don't have a, we do want to try to get it forward for May, and whatever track that needs to follow is
Oh, yeah.
fine.
Yeah, and I think we just want to make sure that there's support going into developing that feasibility.
Absolutely,
So that
absolutely.
we are as prepared as possible and that the community understands where we're at for the feasibility study when we get to town meeting. So-
Completely, and we can
Yeah.
start to talk a little bit more, maybe offline, about
Sure.
a plan to go forward, if it's forums, if it's office hours, if it's other things.
Going
try
to the center?
Going to the center,
Right.
or what,
Yes.
I think there's a variety of things that we can do to try to get there from where we sit and from where you are. I think getting everybody
Yeah.
together will be important, so I agree with you there.
Okay,
Great.
thank you.
Okay, that's fine. So are you both comfortable if we just sort of say to the working group that they can make a recommendation on the feasibility study, at least as part of this? Like, hey, the school building committee can do this, or, kind of being part of that charge. We don't want to overburden the group here, but we want to be able to move forward.
So sorry, I got distracted by reading something. Could you just state that first part? Am I okay with?
Are we okay with making sure that the working group is looking at not only the school building committee, but also the feasibility article and talking through, does it go through a school building committee as the next step, or do we want to have some separate recommendation?
It's the right people in the room in terms of a working group for either purpose. Certainly as a member of that working group, if that's where I end up being, I would be updating and reporting back to this board for direction that I would take. But as far as a conversation, those are the right people in the room. Absolutely.
I'm fine with that.
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. All right. I don't think we really need a vote. So I'm going to recommend, okay, Tina, you can represent the board.
Sure.
I think you may have sorry, but not to cut you
okay,
off.
that's okay.
I think you may have previously voted to designate Tina as sort of
Well,
a
she's
liaison.
also the school
Yeah,
committee liaison.
right. So I think you're good. Yeah, no.
Yeah, and I think we say like, we've asked the schools, like, they can nominate or bring forward a couple people, whoever they'd like to see as part of this conversation, and then that group can find a time to get together and work out some of the details and report back to the respective committees on next steps.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
Sounds good. Thank you, Ben.
Great. It's almost 7:30. All right. Dan, does that sound good to you?
Yeah, so have you decided who the members of the committee are? The working group are?
Well, from us, would be Tina. We're waiting for, and you folks in the school committee would decide on your side who you want to put on the working group.
Right, but then as far as Mr. Keast and Dr. Jordan and
Yeah, and I think they can, I said, certainly Frank and David, and if they want to bring in James, I think that's totally fine.
okay, so you don't think you need to make an official vote, or I'm just making?
No, it's a working group. We're just trying to get we're just trying to get people in a room to talk to each other. It's not the committee.
No, understood, but fine, we're good.
Yeah, thank you.
James, do you want to step forth and be knighted?
I think he's going to be anyway, whether he wants to or not.
We can do an email, but I apologize.
So, all right. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate your input there. We don't have any other updates.
None.
Just for clarity's sake, I've been putting the MSBA project on our agenda, not because there's particular updates, but just so that we have a little space if something does come up, because sometimes things can surface along the way, that we have an opportunity to talk about it.
Could I ask one question along those lines?
Yes.
So we may not have an update on the initial compliance certification.
I have been trying to track that down. I have not gotten it yet from
Got it.
the
Okay.
SB.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, great. All right, well, it is 7:30. So
All right.
we're going to move ahead. I appreciate everybody's time there, both talking about that and flexibility here. So we have a water rate hearing, because it is now 7:30. So could you read the notice?
Sure.
And we'll take a motion to open the hearing.
Notice is hereby given that the Select Board will hold a public hearing on Monday, February 9th, 2026 at 7:30 PM in the Select Board Meeting Room 105 at Town Hall, 703 Washington Street, Holliston, Mass. to determine the water rate for fiscal year 2027. Remote participation instructions were provided when the hearing was posted, which was January 26th of 2026. Move to open the public hearing at 7:31.
Seconded.
All right, this was a roll call vote. Tina?
Yes.
Damon?
Yes.
And I vote yes, so the hearing is now open. We have our DPW director here. Mr. Reese is here, and we're going to talk through this. And so the way this usually works is that we talk through basically the budget for the water department, because that sets how much we need to raise, and then we go and we set the rates based on the budget. So why don't we start with?
Actually, I have one request prior to the,
Of
to
course.
the budget, just regarding the tiers.
Yes,
So we're set up the tier structure.
right.
So a request has come to the water office from, basically, what we do for our multifamilies is we cap the tier 2 charge for 4 families only. So as if they, whatever their volume is, they're capped at a tier 2. We'd like to offer that or request it be moved to include 3 families as well.
Okay.
So that there's 19 of those properties in the town of Holliston. So they.
The
all
3 families?
The 3 families, there's
Okay.
19 of them.
Okay.
We give that multi-unit rate to 66 accounts currently. So we want to add the 3 families, which is a total of 19 additional units.
Okay.
So they'd be capped at a tier 2 usage.
Okay. Captain.
Will we need a vote for that, Frank?
I think you would make that,
As part of our-
probably voted as part of the motion to
Setting
approve
the
the rates.
Rate
For
structure?
27, yep.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, we can talk about that when we
Okay.
get to the rates, but thank you.
Okay.
I know we had one public comment that we'll have to read it, so but
Mhm.
we can do that when we get to that point. So, so if you want to kind of walk us through the budget.
The budget or, all right, well,
I can start with
let's
the-
see.
Do you want me to start with the personal service, the personal service and indirect personal services, Sean, then we can get more into the operations?
Yeah, that's fine, whatever, it's the same numbers we spoke about the
Yep.
other day, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
So-
we're fine with that. Basically, budget's bare bones, so don't,
Yeah.
it's not a whole lot of, we don't have a whole lot of movement. We've
Sure.
had the benefit of some debt service reduction, but still, even at the current rates, we're just, there's not a lot of fluff there.
Okay.
And, Frank will speak to any specific line item you have.
Okay.
So for the personnel services, personal services, most of that is dictated by the conditions of our collective bargaining agreement with the DPW union. The only non-union personnel are Sean. 35% of it, or excuse me, 65% of his salary is covered through the water enterprise. And then we have our 2 administrative staff here at Town Hall. The rest is determined by the parameters of our CBA contract.
Okay.
Indirect personal services, those would be like employee benefits, health insurance, pension costs, OPEB costs, those types of things. These numbers are based on our initial benefits estimates for fiscal year 2027, while Chris finalizes the payroll allocations. These built in, this number here, the 349,000, built in some wiggle room, so we're confident going with that number while Chris finalizes the figure for fiscal year 27.
Okay.
Ben, did you have a question on that?
No.
Oh, okay, sorry. I should also mention for the personal services, there is roughly $6,000 included in that total for the town engineer. In the original memo that was approved last year, there was a 80-20 split between the general fund and the water enterprise for the coverage of the salaries there. So if you recall, when I gave the budget update a month ago or last meeting, I forget, there was roughly a $23,000 impact for the fiscal year 27 budget for the town engineer.
Okay.
Another $5,000 or $6,000 will be felt in the water enterprise to cover for that expected impact for fiscal year 27.
So the salary is included in the projection here?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Well, the portion.
That portion, correct.
Got it.
Correct.
All right.
For purchase services, you'll see an increase of about $65,000. In reviewing the town's liability insurance coverage, roughly 15% of the assets that we have insured through Maya are actually part of the water enterprise. Their equipment, their plants, their automobiles, all that types of stuff. So what I'm proposing is shifting that cost from the general fund to the water enterprise. And so that's why you'd see a steep increase, not a steep increase, but you will see an increase on the purchase services line item for fiscal year 27.
Can you refresh my memory, though? Like, we went from 677 to 617. Am I reading that right? We make that a little tiny bit
We did.
bigger. We did. So I'm just trying to understand, like, that reduction, that $60,000 reduction. I mean,
So I think the difference, I don't know why, but for the 25 is an actual number, and the 26
Got it.
number is a budget.
Got it.
So it could have been that we had an overage in
Move some things
25 and had to deal with it in the budget.
25, we
then.
had was not a drought year where we had a lot of overtime over the
We
summer?
did, but that would be applied to a different line. I mean, yeah, I think the overall number for the water budget is decreased just because of the debt service. So,
I know.
and we continue to kind of not escalate each line, and particularly purchase services. I'm not saying I'm not realistic,
Yeah.
but where it's And we have reduced those particular line items. So at the 1 year, we've had the flexibility to be able to raise it 1 year
Yeah.
and decrease it another year.
Yeah.
It could have been due to excess chemical 1 year when we ran 24 hours a day.
I totally
things
trust
like
you,
that.
Sean. I know.
Oh,
I know
I
you
get
know
it.
exactly what you're doing. This is me just kind of trying to understand the fluctuations.
Yeah,
That's
we
all.
have dips and dives like it, you know.
Okay, because it's just sometimes it could be just it's cost of purchasing materials. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, it'd be purchaser, so that is a bunch of stuff. But anything chemicals,
Yeah.
like labs, professional service in there.
Okay.
Anything
I just was
to
wondering if
spend.
there was like a particular thing like we
Yeah.
had like this year we had to like do excess testing and the following year we didn't. That's kind of all I'm trying to get at.
Gotcha, yeah.
Sean, you and I know
In general, that.
we're under the fixed contract for in terms of the price of our electricity, but electricity is another one I think that we've talked about as well, right?
Well, yeah, regardless of the fixed price, electricity usage can fluctuate as well. So
Yeah.
anytime we run additional,
Yeah.
those are 480 volt, everything goes up. The cost,
Yeah.
if you're running plants more, the cost of running goes up more. So that electricity is always a large item.
That's always a part of it. I got it. I get you.
Any questions on purchase services or supplies and materials? Those are obviously the meat of the budget.
Anybody from?
No.
Intergovernmental, that is just the cost of filing a report with the DEP, correct, Sean?
Yeah, that's our right to pump water.
Yes.
So we need that.
Yeah. Kind of.
Based on our gallons, they charge a fee.
Was it a
That's
million?
what-
Is it $1 million a day? Is that what? Do I
Our is 1.3 is our withdrawal permit per day, I believe. Yeah, it's a percentage of that. That's how they determine that fee. So it's typically anywhere from 35 to 4,000. So it's maintain that level.
Gotcha.
Jumping down to the debt service, as Sean mentioned, there's a pretty sizable reduction this year just based on the debt schedule. So I think I'm going to scooch back up to the top here where we review the proposed rates for next year. So at this point last year, we were projecting a 2.5% increase for both fiscal 26 and then looking ahead to fiscal year 27. Sean and I are still good with that, sticking with the schedule. However, last year's model didn't anticipate some capital needs that have come up in the interim. So you'll see that the total capital request for the water enterprise for fiscal year 27 is going to be about $345,000. $45,000 of that is a vehicle, and another $300,000 is to replenish a previously appropriated article that was used to make various upgrades at our different plants, water treatment plants. And so you'll see in fiscal year 28, we also have $100,000 that is for another vehicle. And so in order to accommodate those requests and to keep the rates at a 2.5% increase, we're recommending that the water infrastructure fee for fiscal year 27, we continue with the practice for fiscal year 25 and fiscal year 26 to allocate $20 of the $75 enterprise fee to this sort of general water revenue bucket. And so we do that for one more year just to get over this hump, and then beginning in 28, we'll go back to the $75 going fully to the infrastructure account. Now, if you look down to the infrastructure line item, you'll see that even with the $2 million withdrawal that we made in October, even with continuing the practice of allocating the $20 of infrastructure fee to the general water revenues, we're still maintaining and project to maintain a very healthy balance. You'll see in fiscal year 28, we have a placeholder for a $3 million withdrawal for a potential capital project. Nothing set in stone just yet, but again, just to show that even with the $3 million withdrawal, we'll still keep a healthy balance in that account should another major capital need arise. So Sean and I put that placeholder in there for 28 and another one in 2030, just to show that there is capacity in there.
Is that lumpy on purpose instead of dragging a little bit each year, kind of like pulses?
Yeah, well, I think, and Sean, you're the expert, but I think one issue you would run in with having one every year is like half the town would be, our town would basically turn into the Big Dig where every road would be open. So
Understood.
if
Got
you
it.
look at Norfolk Street right now, and then the potential for maybe Central Street in the future, in October we allocated money for the stretch of Washington from, I guess, from was it Winter to Baker?
Yeah.
Winter to Baker Street. So just
I just want to elaborate on one thing. So it's an account, so when the state looks at, I mean, again, when the state looks at the money, all the water, it's one pool. Okay, the way we're dividing it is we have the retained earnings, we have the infrastructure fee. It's still the same money, but it's just accounted for differently. So I'm still allowed to use retained earnings for infrastructure replacement. It's just accounted for a little bit differently. It allows us, I guess, easier usage of the money.
yeah.
No, but it's not like it's going towards something else. It's
still
still
going to the
within the
same thing.
water
Yeah.
department, within the same
Yeah.
So
department. You utilize the same.
when the Department of Revenue certifies our retained earnings, they're not certifying, this is your infrastructure account, this is your meter fee account. They're saying, okay, you got all this money, this is your leftover money, here's your retained earnings for all water. But internally, we track it a little bit differently.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
Just tracking here, so the Norfolk project in terms of water main replacements funded through this fund account is on target, moving forward, no course correction.
No, it's pretty much near completion. It's
Right.
all set, all
Okay.
done.
We are also.
The water aspect of it, not.
The water, correct.
Yeah, the water
Correct.
portion.
Then looking ahead to Central Street, because I feel like this is a commitment this board's made, so it's a good time to
Yeah,
check
so
back
you've got,
in for
so
Central Street and.
you have the Washington Street intersection
Right.
is an immediate response. We funded for that last town meeting.
I was gonna say, we funded
Central
that,
Street,
yeah.
we've got a portion of that used under the article Norfolk Street, so we've done a minimal work as far as field work in Central Street. So that'll be a discussion that we have at some point to generate revenue to do your directive, which would be Central Street water mains, and then if we're gonna follow that with sidewalk drainage, kind of similar to Norfolk Street.
So in terms of the projecting that we're seeing up here, that's not changing any of the planning for Central Street Water Main Project. Perfect. That's why I wanted to check in.
And I think, and I don't know this to be sure, but Concord Street may have, or, excuse me, Winter Street Washington Street from Winter to Baker may have jumped the line a little bit just because we had a lot of issues in that corner of town.
Right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, but that certainly doesn't mean it delayed any type of work on
Got it.
Central Street.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that explains the infrastructure fee. How are we doing on, because we went to the meter fee, everybody's favorite, the progress? of-
You're near 90% completion on that. I think, actually, I would say over 90, we have about 15 homes left.
Oh, okay.
Of which haven't just they failed to respond to our letters, so we're still trying to reach them.
Yeah, okay.
But we're near completion on that.
Okay.
So that's the software component, so
Right.
we no longer estimate the readings, so the customers don't have to estimate readings. It certainly tightens up our unaccounted for water.
Yeah.
So because we're no longer estimating usage, and it actually allows us to basically forecast our revenue better. So we're actually getting actual dollar amount from our customers, as opposed to kind of like a random, like,
I guess.
we're estimating you, and if you don't, we go down, we read the meter, and then we can give you an actual reading. So we have a tremendous amount of abatements from that.
Yeah.
And we certainly work with the residents, but it's a great thing. It's
Yeah. It'll be good. to have
almost
it.
100% complete.
So then I guess the next question is, I know the answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway because we're here. So if we're still collecting the fee, the expectation is like we're going to go through a similar exercise like every 10 years or so. or
Well,
whatever
yeah,
it is,
you
like,
would want it, right, it's important to maintain that fee.
Right.
Again, only $8, it takes so long to build up any sort of substantial usable amount, but even at that, then your next component will be a replacement of the actual water meters. And how we'll start that, or we can start that with larger compound meters for how, but it's exactly that's what that will be utilized for. And it's important for the town to maintain this software.
Yeah.
We got a little bit far behind, and this, however it was selected, was whatever choice was made, low bid or whatever. The company sold, so it was kind of went in the bucket, and
Okay.
hopefully we have a really good product here.
Okay.
In relation to that, we'll be rolling out where, as a user or a customer, you'll be able to actually go online, see your real-time usage, and a lot of effective fun tools for the residents. So
Oh, that's good. Okay.
you should enjoy that if you like to watch your water
I like
meters
numbers,
spend.
like data. And, okay, so you're saying too that we're going to be replacing the physical meters, is that what I did?
That's probably your next realistic goal, you know.
Okay.
Um,
And we
again,
have to
again,
build up a-
those are multi-million-dollar projects, so you
Right.
know, nothing's rolled out overnight. Certainly, you can need to substantiate that in conjunction with the meter fee,
Right.
you know, and some other money, but we're not there right now, so.
Okay, so then we're building up the fee, we're
Correct,
building
we're
up the
building up the fee
balance,
slowly
and
but
then
sure,
and then in a
exactly.
couple of years, we'll be doing
Right,
another,
right.
we'll do part
Yeah,
of the
whatever it
project.
is, right, that, you know, like any software doesn't last forever, you know.
Okay.
If we get 10, 15, 20 years out of it, you know, but 10 years comes by like that,
Yeah.
that's,
Especially when you're trying to get a balance that's sufficient to be able to replace it.
right.
Understood. Okay. Okay. Any questions from the board on the revenue side of?
Nope, just Frank, if you could scroll up so we can see the bottom line.
Oh, yep.
Thank you.
So with all of that, we're down back to the operating budget?
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So we'd have a small operating surplus of $40,000
Based on our
based
projection.
on the projections, which we're basically using fiscal '25 user data to update our projections for '26, which we're then using to project for '27. So there's a lot of assumptions in there.
We have to.
But again, yeah, there's no better
We
way.
have Okay.
And again, any overage would then flow to retained earnings that we could then use for capital or similar purposes. And any underperformance would then just be a hit to our retained earnings balances.
And that projected there for 27 has the 2.5%.
Correct.
That we're looking to do tonight.
Okay.
Yes, that's projected out to
Yeah,
31
that'll
as
be
well.
the last question will be that. But does anybody have any other questions about the revenue or the budget or the water department? No?
No.
Okay. So then the last question is the recommendation for the tiers, the fees, the charges. and things
Yep.
like that.
So
Through that.
we're recommending 2.5% across all tiers.
Okay.
We are recommending again to continue the practice of, for the third year and final year, of allocating $20 of the infrastructure fee
Okay.
to the general water revenues account, and to for the is it the three family homes, Sean?
Right, so we'll
Change the
cap
definitions.
3-family properties at a tier 2 usage.
Do
And
we
maintain the meter fee at $8.
Do you have like a quick, like what that looks like for, like, here's tier 1, here's tier 2?
Oh, yeah.
tier 3?
So,
You're gonna have to zoom in.
Right, so like tier 1, it's like maybe just about 15 cents. Tier 2, it's a 22-cent increase. I don't have a calculator, I'm just trying to.
oh, I'm sorry. I don't know. Why is this not here? I can just pull it up. I can do it quickly. Sorry.
Okay, well, pull it down if you're gonna be doing that. We can ask, have a couple questions. Okay, so we're talking about Central Street is the next project, and there's some other just like regular routine infrastructure
it's-
projects with
well,
other plants too.
Well, the infrastructure will be Washington Street, Concord Street
Yes,
intersections. I mean,
yes. And
basically
then
that
Central
section of
again.
water main replacement.
Right.
Followed by, your directive will be Central Street. Now, what segments of Central Street, if it's a portion, if we phase out, if it's the whole thing, I mean, Central Street's a
Long street.
a long road. Those are discussions we'll have, where you want the sidewalks to start, where you want them to terminate. All that stuff is,
Part of the conversation.
will be, yeah, part of the conversation.
Okay.
We'll request 2 articles in May. One is for a vehicle, the other one will be to add on to an existing article we have, which is, I think it's called Well 4, Well 6 treatment plant improvements. That
Okay.
money is used to, outside the operating budget, for larger expenditures such as like vessel replacement or vessel painting, or if we need to replace media, things that the operating budget just cannot sustain.
Right.
There'd be too much replacing controls. The stuff is so expensive, so critical to operation,
Right.
that without that money already set aside, you could
And I know
basically stop production.
some of those things. I remember when we would put well number 5, we had to wait for a while because there were some parts that we were having trouble sourcing. I think there were.
Yeah, that stuff
Stuff
is.
is always inevitable.
I don't think it's as bad as it is now. These guys will probably tell you it's, everything goes $1 million, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's not. I mean, just everything is super expensive out
Right.
there.
Okay. Okay.
The other thing I just want to make you aware of is, so PFAS, we've received some funding for PFAS. Okay,
Right.
so with that money, I'm going to say it's slightly over 500,000, whatever, somewhere around that, maybe 700. We pretty much utilized all of that money already. Okay, so we're starting our pilot study program, which will determine the type of filtration that we're going to need at these plants to remediate that. That's going to be a real cost to the town down the road.
Okay.
I mean, so it's millions of dollars to do these things. So you get into discussion at what cost, or what cost to people's really.
Right.
I miss PFAS. What, like, that's today, what's tomorrow? So again, those are going to be real substantial issues that the town's going to have to make decisions on, whether it's going to be SRF type of thing or how we're going to pay for these retrofitting of
What
these
is
plants.
SRF?
State revolving fund. Like we built the treatment plant at Well 5.
Yep.
We use that source.
Yep.
But again, that's our debt service. So we increased that. Just those are things you have to deal with as every community is. So
Okay.
I don't. Maybe we'll get another $10 million of settlements, but maybe we won't get any. Nobody lets us know.
We
really.
might have to make some.
But we're in the process of pilot
Evaluating what we
study
need
now.
to-
Correct. We're evaluating what we're going to need to do to remove it and meet the standards. We're in compliance now.
Yep.
And we're on track to maintain compliance, but there'll be real numbers that come down the road to us and things that we're going to have to address. Just
When
so
do you
you're
think we
aware.
might have answers about those?
The pilot test takes months to do. Sometimes can take a year. So it's a large window there to
Okay.
get that stuff in place.
Okay, got it. Okay. And it looks like Frank's got the rate structure that we're talking about here.
So you'll note, actually, sorry, I have 26 is up here, excuse me. So you note there's obviously the 2.5% increase, but there's also, for the first asterisk, I've updated the 4-family plus to 3-family plus for fiscal year 27.
Is that's potential for that? And then the residential accounts are the ones who pay for the 4,800 plus cubic feet.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions about the rates here?
We have public comment.
Yeah, we haven't
Hold
gotten
that.
public comment yet. I'm wondering if you or Damon have a question at this time.
Yeah,
I have
no.
a quick one.
Yep.
Tina, you want to go ahead?
I have no questions, thank you.
Okay. On the 2.5% rate increase, I actually really appreciate the conservative stance there and trying to make sure that we are projecting an increase that's reasonable. In your discussions, did you ever come up against scenario planning where you thought that 2.5% would not be enough?
Well, initially, yes, because we were looking at greater than anticipated capital needs. But I think, given that for the past 2 years, we've used the allocation of the infrastructure fee to offset sort of an anticipated spike in water rates. I think we were comfortable going with that.
Pretty high degree of confidence on
Yes.
Right.
The only other thing about water rates, and just from prior experience, is the weather. Like, you never know what people could start using way more water. They could start using way less water because it rains every day during the summer. We already have the water restrictions in place during the summer, but you can still alter behavior of a homeowner based on things that are outside of our control. But unfortunately, or fortunately, I suppose, we're not really in a position to guess what the weather's going to be.
Totally fine. I just wanted to note it feels operationally conservative. I want to make
It
sure
is.
that we're, yeah, okay.
But it's also, I think there's a little bit of space too, because the debt service is reduced, so
Yeah.
it gives us a
Well,
little bit of
yeah.
flexibility.
So we're not going to gouge anybody.
Right,
So
no,
it's
of
a
course not.
minimum
No, no.
standard.
Yep.
To maintain, operations.
Yes.
What our residents or customers expect. We have the retained earnings, which is the buffer or fallback if, if we need money outside the operating budget, which we do. The board allows us to, we go in there, we kind of predict our projects and our needs, and we operate from there. Yeah, but we're certainly on the conservative side, but, as long as we maintain the projections, I think we'll be in good shape. Knock on wood.
And Sean, we're grateful for all the work that you do. And I
very
think
much
you have
so.
a tough job because when you're doing things right, people don't notice. When something goes wrong, it's like, what's going on? But I have to say that, we really appreciate all the hard work that you put in and your team.
No, we have a great team. So we
We do.
have a good team and we have good town support. So that's what helps.
Yes, but, so, all right, so now we're going to get to public comment. I'm going to ask for Zoom comment, and then we can get to read the email. So, at this time in the public hearing, this is an opportunity for if residents have questions or comments. They can ask a question. It's we're only talking about the water rate hearing. This isn't general public comment at this time. But if you have any questions for the select board, comments for the select board, or for the DPW director or the town manager about this, what we've just been talking about with the water rates and the water budget, this is a good opportunity to do so. If you want to just raise your hand under the reaction button, I see someone coming on. It sounds like looks like you might want to ask a question. And if you could just raise your hand, or okay, there we go. And if you could just unmute yourself, and if you could just give us your name and address, and you can give us your question or comments.
Thank you. My name is Mark Namath. I'm at 178 Dalton Road here in Holliston. My question relates to the adjustment charges between the actuals versus the estimated for residents. I didn't know if this was the appropriate time to ask a question about that, or if later in general comment would be appropriate.
You could certainly ask the question now, and we can do our best to answer it. There might be something, if there's any follow-up, we could certainly get back to you. But you're welcome to ask it now if it's about water rates.
Okay. So my question relates to charges where the estimates that were provided by the water department and paid over the last, in this case, 5 years, differ significantly below what the new water meter is now saying. And in my case, that is, I received a bill for thousands of dollars. And it appears that this bill goes back 5 years in adjustments between estimates and actuals. And my understanding is that under our water rules and regulations, section 1.12, that adjustment bills like that are actually limited to 1 year. And wanted to ask if that was, if that was taken into account for such billings. I might be a one-off, but wanted to ask.
Yeah, so with that, in your case, the actual usage now justifies the bill. But we would just basically, have you contacted the water office? Because I believe your name rings a bell. So we would abate a large percentage of your bill. So again, we're trying to work with the customers, realize that the bills have been estimated, and then you call them with a real bill. Now there's a difference between the actual usage and our estimate. So we try to work with you on that. The rules and regs do say we only can go back a certain year, that finite number, and we try to stick with that and work with you best we can. But certainly, when I reviewed that section of the rules and regs, I'll strike it out there. I mean, we don't.
Yeah. So it sounds like
typically hasn't happened before.
You've been talking to the department, the water department, about this concern.
Yes, I sent a letter several days ago.
Okay.
I'm sure they'll get back to me. I just saw that there was a public hearing this evening and wanted to come and ask as well.
Okay.
So,
and
I appreciate you working with me, and I'll look forward to hearing from you, sir.
Yeah.
It's no. Again, anybody that's written in, we've drastically.
You're working
reduced
you're
their
working
bill.
with customers, and we recognize that this is there's a discrepancy here, and we're trying to get it right moving forward without making it punitive in the process.
Right.
I appreciate your question. The water department, I'm sure, will look at it. We'll get the letter, and we'll get.
We've already.
Yeah, so they
I've
have
already
it, and they'll be getting
discussed.
back to you in the coming days to try to work out a solution that you're comfortable with.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody, for your service.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your question. Does anyone else have a question regarding the water rates this evening? You can raise your hand under the reaction button. Don't all jump at once. Okay. I'll go back one more time after this. I know we have one letter that was sent to us. If we could just read the public comment that was given to us.
This public comment was received from Janice Miller, 208 Winthrop Street. My question is whether the Select Board and Water Department have considered offering a discount for residents who conserve their water use to half the top of the Tier 1 level, 750 cubic feet per quarter. As the town's water resources are limited and water bans are in effect as early as the spring, offering a discount incentive for those who can effectively reduce their water usage to a minimum would serve to conserve our precious water resources. Thank you so much for considering such an initiative. Again, Janice Miller, 208 Winthrop Street, received by email. I'll just point out, email is a great way to get public comment to the
Yes.
board, and we will always include it in our meetings when we do.
I would say to that, it's great to conserve. Our tier structure is your method of conservation. So we set the rates lowest we possibly can to generate revenue. The water department is an enterprise account, so we function not off of the tax, off the revenue that we're generated by selling actual water. So the tiers are set at a minimum, which is the 1,500 gallons. I don't think going any lower would do it. You can always save money by not using water, I guess, but I wouldn't be in favor of offering an additional.
Basically an additional tier.
half
Yeah, I was going to say,
It's like adding a
effectively,
tier.
Right, a tier 1A or something. But
Yeah, and it's such a critical infrastructure for the community.
it's still your cheapest utility by far.
Yeah, and it has so many, it has public safety options, and it's such an important part of our community. We have not explored doing something like that, and I think we do have an obligation to make sure that that we take care of our system.
Right.
And we on a daily basis, and our water department is out there doing all sorts of things. We've had a good winter so far. And
Winter in what way?
fair enough. I mean, I haven't heard about like a water main break. That's kind of the point. I know. I'm
We
not.
had 3 in December, so
Okay.
we
Yes.
did okay. in
Stop
January.
So anyway, all right. I'm going
Worcester,
to.
City of Worcester's had 26 as of the first of the year, so it's,
Yeah.
I don't know why I even said that. Whatever.
One more time at the Zoom. Does anybody on the Zoom call have any comments or questions about the water rates this evening? Raise your hand under the reaction button. All right, hearing none, I believe we can take a motion to close the hearing, and then we can deliberate and take a vote on the rates.
move to close the FY27 water rate hearing at 8:05 PM.
Seconded.
All right, it's a roll call vote. Tina?
Yes.
Damon?
Yes.
And I vote yes. The public hearing is now closed for our water rate hearing. So just going around the room here.
I have
what do you
no
think?
additional comments, prepared to vote as presented, to accept as presented.
Same, and again, another note of thanks for all the hard work.
Yeah, I really appreciate all the work that these Sean and his team do on a daily basis. They're unsung heroes of getting us water that we don't even see as often as and give credit to often enough, and we appreciate it. So I'm ready to take a motion to vote on the tiers as presented with the change to add 3 family homes on capped at tier 2.
So we have 4 components to the motion, which will include a 2.5% increase across all tiers.
Correct.
It'll include the continued practice of splitting the infrastructure fee as described. It will include, as Ben mentioned, the 3 families being capped at Tier 2 level, and then the $8 water meter fee remains unchanged. I will make that motion.
Seconded.
All right, all those in favor?
Yes.
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 So,
Great,
Sean,
thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. I don't know if you're sticking around.
I am.
For the next
I
part,
am.
the next fun stuff.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you, Sean. Really appreciate it. Now, you get to talk to more engineers. So we're going to get an update on the DPW building project proposal, and we're going to bring some folks from Weston and Sampson forward. There's another chair. I'm going to get it over there. Charlotte, maybe you could put your microphone up on the other side, so that way this chair can have a microphone. Just in case. Do you want to come up, or are you? It's up to you. I mean, I don't. Okay. All right.
Did you bring the moldings in? Is that yours there in the corner?
The panels?
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Oh,
Yes.
Show and
we
tell?
had- Yeah, a little show and tell
Okay.
tonight.
yeah.
So, welcome. You could just give us your name, your role here. We've certainly met you before, but just want to make sure that if people are joining us, they can they'll know who they're talking to. Plus, your back is to the Zoom, so they don't always
Okay.
get to see you. So,
Sure, I'll start. My name is Alex Francisco. I'm a project manager with Weston and Sampson.
welcome, Alex.
Okay, I'm David Steves, the project architect for the DPW project, and with me is Alex, and also Mike Richard. He's our discipline leader, so I'm glad he was able to make it tonight.
Discipline. Oh boy.
Yeah. well,
We're actually building an accessible dwelling unit for David to live in.
He's here often enough.
Cut down on his mileage.
Oh, boy.
Before we dive in, I do just want to I want to just note that we've spent a lot of time in this room with the team from Weston and Sampson. We appreciate their time, but I know Sean and Robert Walker, James Keast, and Chief Cassidy. And you're probably wondering, why was Chief Cassidy there? He's generally just a smart guy, but also we've tackled a lot of different issues and heard a lot of different feedback from when we were having our information sessions in the fall, in the lead up to October town meeting. But even since, we've heard additional feedback from the community, and we've tried the best we could to incorporate that feedback while, working with Weston Sampson to deliver a responsible program. I think that's the term, right? Program.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely.
So, really looking forward to this for this update.
Okay.
And I might jump in when we get to the part about, we talk about some of the creative solutions that we've worked on, I think, to get the scope tightened.
Of course, Frank, and thanks for that. And feel free, anybody, to jump in. I have a brief presentation, an update for brevity's sake. I'll kind of go through it, and we can go back. So I have some slides I'd like to share, so I need to share my screen.
And just for people at home to recognize too, we'll get this presentation up on the town's website with the projects as soon as we can in the next few days.
Are you on there as Dave Steves, or are you sharing from a different name?
Dave Steves.
It is Dave Steves.
It's got to be me.
Can we
Well, the
give Dave?
discipline leader speaks.
Can we? I know, right? Can we get Dave Steves' permission to share his screen, please? Might take a second.
Share. Okay.
Screen, it should give you an option to share your screen on Zoom.
Zoom likes to change it too.
Yeah.
Can I see yours?
It's this button. Apologies, folks. We just have a little technical difficulties we're working through to.
Yep. And now on that screen, you should be able to share. Next. Okay. On here.
It's boy, with using Teams because then I can do PowerPoint live and then I can see
Oh,
it.
nice.
And then you can actually scroll through. It's very cool.
Share.
Even if you're not the presenter, you can actually go back and like, hey, I want to see that slide again. You can actually look at it. It's really,
Really?
yeah. Teams does some really good stuff.
Never would have done it.
All right, here we go.
You can see my screen?
You can see your screen. It's right
Okay.
behind your head.
All right.
So we'll be really able to see it. Perfect.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for seeing us this evening. Happy to give you this update on the DPW. I think we met in the fall, so a lot's happened since that time. We have a quick agenda for you. I'd like to kind of just quickly, 3 basic parts. We're going to just touch on what's happened to date, the study, the site selection, and where we are in the design. We'll talk about the design process and the status of that, and then we'll end up with just an opinion of the probable costs, and then touch on next steps for the project. So here's a quick overview of the project timeline of how we got here. It was essentially 4 basic phases, which you can see in the upper right-hand corner of those 4 colors, which was the feasibility study, the site selection process, the design, and construction. And as you can see, we are about 1/3 of the way through the design process in the orange dots. A couple of key things is that we had started the site selection back in 2023. In October of last year, the town had selected the Arch Street site as the site for the new consolidated public works facility. We started design just thereafter in November, and a critical next kind of milestone date coming up is the May 26th town meeting, where we are going to have a design development progress set with an independent cost estimate to go to town meeting for project construction funding at that time. We are going to continue the design process, which is scheduled to complete in November, and then go out to bidding, and then construction thereafter for an 18 to 20-month construction process. So just quickly, what's happened so far, we did the feasibility study, where we had evaluated all the existing facilities and conditions and walked through there and measured them and found out the deficiencies, how they worked and how they operated. We went through extensive meetings with the DPW and Sean and his staff, and we included all the vehicle and equipment and storage components for a new public works facility. We had gone through all the space planning and all the sizes of the spaces that we had needed, and we had gone through a number of iterative processes to try to reduce and economize and see where spaces could be combined and become more efficient. We went through also a staffing summary needs of what they have now, and the projected, also including the town manager that we're accounting for in this new facility. We had then moved into the site selection process, and we had evaluated a total of 16 sites. You can see there in the initial study it was 6 sites, where there were 3 town-owned sites, which was the existing 2 sites that the Public Works was currently located on, the Arch Street and Central Street site, as well as Prentice Street, the other town-owned site, as well as 3 other sites, was the original charge to evaluate. In May 23, I just point that out as a critical crossroads, is that we had looked at Axton Cross as a potential site that was in land court and had been approved at town meeting in that May 23 town meeting for us to continue further evaluation and assessment of that site being feasible for a new consolidated public works. We found that that was extensively contaminated, and with a 5 to 10 year projection for cleanup and DEP coordination, that site was proven to be not viable. So we consequently, the town went out for 2 follow-up RFPs, which the first one included 6 additional sites that we evaluated for size, shape, use. There was nothing there that rose to the top to be a viable or exceptional or affordable site. The town went out for another RFP for an additional 4 sites. All told, those 16 sites were evaluated in October. they decided to select the first site, site number 1, the existing Arch Street site. So here's the Arch Street site. You can see this is the existing developed area of the site, which is undersized, frankly, to accommodate consolidated and new updated public works. So we have some strategies on how to make this a viable site. One is to expand the southern portion end, which is an elevated area, to excavate that to make a large extended pavement area to accommodate the new public works. We're looking at excavating along the edge of the property line adjacent to the rail trail and containing that sloped edge, or now excavated slope, with a 14 to 16 foot high retaining wall. And then on the downslope side edge, we're looking to add a small retaining wall to fill that edge of the site. In other words, to give us a big enough footprint to accommodate the new facility. We're looking at also including some of the program, which is essentially the parking, at the lower site, currently unused lower site area. So this is what we're planning. You can see the new, and I'll just kind of outline some of the major components. You can see outlined in the dark black line is an efficient, consolidated building, the operational building footprint. You can see that it includes a 2-story administration and employee facilities component, a center drive aisle vehicle and equipment storage bay, a drive-through wash bay which maintains all your equipment for use and longevity, and a drive-around salt shed. You can see the access arrows where a vehicle can come in, drive around the salt shed, and then exit. And then a town-wide fueling component. You can see adjacent to the operations building, that's how a vehicle would come in and access that, as well as a material storage and open canopy storage structure on site. In the upper right-hand corner, you can see we have just a diagrammatic site section where along the left edge of that you can see the height of the rail trail, where we are proposing to excavate down and include that retaining wall. And you can see the outline of the relative size of the building to give us a level pad area for the new facility. And below that is the program that we're accommodating on site. So this, it seems repetitive, but there's a pretty critical component here that I wanted to point out. It's that drawing on the left, which was the key drawing for us to validate that this site is actually works. You can see from the main entrance that we're proposing at that location, that's the main entrance for all town-wide vehicles and DPW vehicles that will fuel and use the salt storage facilities. So a vehicle that comes into the site, it's a bus or a fire truck, can go in, fuel, and make that turn and have adequate clearance in one shot, make that turn and exit directly. You can see also looping around the salt shed where a DPW truck can come in and turn around and optimally load on the driver's side of the salt shed. So that's the drawing that once we put all the components now that we're consolidating here, we were able to confirm that it's an efficient and viable and active site. You can see on the right-hand side, we have 2 conceptual floor plans that we're developing. On the lower plan, you can see we have the office and employee facility space. Next to that is the highway and water lab shop spaces. Adjacent to that is the vehicle and equipment maintenance and wash space, and then the vehicle storage garage above that. Then above that plan, you can see on the second floor, we have a second floor space of offices and mezzanine mechanical space. And the remainder of the mezzanine space is shown there outlined in red, because that's trying to utilize mezzanine space as much as you can to maximize usable area in the building, where you have double height spaces in maintenance bays or the vehicle storage bays. So here you can see just a detailed overview of the footprint of the plan, very efficient operational layout, just linear, so for very clean and simple circulation. And the elevation is the front elevation below. And I did bring a sample just to give you a sense of what we're proposing for the exterior envelope for your building. So this is a factory foamed-in insulated metal panel that encloses what would be a pre-engineered metal building system. So you can see this is a 3-inch panel. It has a metal cladding with a striated surface and embossed finish, so you don't see oil canning. Very resilient, durable, energy efficient, and very cost effective to enclose an industrial space like this that we're talking about. The administrative portion is not, so this is actually the finish of the interior of the space as well. So in a single panel, this is the outside of the building, then you have an interior finish that is, this is where the girt framing supports that panel. So very, very efficient to install and cost effective. We are considering for the administrative area, since it's finished not in panel, but drywall and carpet and VCT. It would be a different style, like a profile series panel, but still industrial and resilient and very cost effective.
Could you tell us what VCT is?
Vinyl composition tile.
Thank you.
You see it in all your hallways.
I know. I'm just calling out acronyms. Just to
Oh,
make sure
okay. I'm sorry.
Things are understood. But, okay.
Sure.
Thank you.
So here you can see kind of a perspective view of the operational, functional layout of the site. In the foreground, you can see the salt shed, the brine fill station, the remote fuel, above ground fuel tanks, and the fuel canopy right there adjacent to the main entrance on the left edge. The sequence of the building is as we kind of walked through a moment ago, which is the administration and employee facility space, shops, maintenance, wash, and then the vehicle storage on the right. One thing particularly that I want to point out is that on the right edge you can see of the pink vehicle storage volume, there's a blue space that's designated for a fire department substation apparatus to store on site. And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, but that's a component to this project that's been added to this site and to this program. Go ahead, Frank.
Just to be clear, not a new substation, a relocation of the substation from Central Street to Arch Street.
Right.
Thanks.
It is new, but it's not
It's
we're
new
not
to Arch
adding
Street.
on here.
Right.
Yeah.
So here's a view looking at the site from the opposite end. This is from the abutters property. You can see the open canopy storage in the foreground, which would shield and screen the operation from the abutter for sound and noise and visibility.
Yes.
Quick question, what is the radius on that? Is that a half mile, quarter mile? Do you have a, what I mean to say is there are structures that are not a part of the DPW facility, got it. What is the radius? Are we looking at a quarter mile, a half mile radius, would you say? It looks more like a quarter mile radius.
I would say so. How far we extend our view, that is, I would have to guess, that's probably about a quarter mile.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
So we're looking at, and you can see on the right edge, so the left edge is where we're proposing the retaining wall along the rail trail to enlarge the pad area for the facility. And along the right side, you can see the lower retaining wall we're looking to fill, so you have enough driveway access for perimeter vehicle circulation around the site, as well as an apron in front of the maintenance bays. You can see here just a quick, in your top view is a bird's eye view looking at it from beyond the rail trail. And in the lower image, you can see a perspective view from how it would look entering the site. Okay, let me jump into Any questions so far on the facility that we're proposing? Okay. We jumped into the development of the project costs, and I did want to talk about two basic approaches that we had. So we had an initial design that has been revised, but I wanted to share this with the board, which is on the left side. Our original planning included the highway and water departments to be located at Arch Street, but because the site was so constricted, we thought it would be beneficial to locate the fuel station, have the townwide fueling at Central, and also include a seasonal storage equipment for storage of equipment that's out of season, mowers and plows, and flip them during the seasons so that we could minimize the footprint of the building and make sure that it worked, that we talked about in that earlier slide. So this was to locate the fueling here. So it was the main facility at Arch Street, supported by some supplemental program at Central. And we had done a space needs analysis originally, and this is just a quick update slide, which shows that our initial planning called for a 51,500 square foot facility, and we had revised that down to just over 45,000 square feet, as working with Sean and Robert and James and Frank. And so we had done that process a number of times, and we had set a very aggressive target of 37,000 plus square feet, which would have reduced the overall square footage by a total of 20%. We are now looking at the current design, which is based on actual layout numbers, and it's at 40,000 square feet. So which is right, from my view, right on the money with our target of the 37, by adding the 1,800 of stairs, 2 stairs, elevator machine room, that adds that square footage to our total. So we're currently at 40 and change, which represents a 20% total reduction from the original square footage. So to touch on the costs, and why we kind of changed course a little bit. So we had the Arch Street site that we were developing, and the Central Street that had the seasonal storage building that included an updated substation for the parking of the fire apparatus. So it was there, and so it was incorporated into that portion of the work. But the site development costs and everything else put the costs for the Central Street site at just under $8 million for that site, and the 63 Arch Street at $48.5 million or thereabouts. $56.5 million roughly total cost, and so the town and Frank and James and the general consensus was that's going to be more than we bargained for here. Can we really get Arch Street to really work and consolidate the operation there? So we had put this cost together that goes back to the validated site layout that we had confirmed just a moment ago. We're showing a cost here that is really a range, which is we have our costs that we estimated in the high range based on our early estimates of 6% annual escalation over 3 years, plus an 8% design contingency for the unknowns. But since we've been developing the design, and we've seen costs more so moderate in the recent past, we tweaked those numbers of escalation and contingency to ratchet down what we expect the escalation to be into a more realistic range, which is keeping at 6% for 1 year, but ratchet down to 5 and then 4 over the subsequent years. And then a design contingency of 6% instead of 8, because there are less unknowns because we're further along in the process. So that gave us a total from from a more realistic projected cost view of 47.5 million to a high-end estimate of 49.5 million. Out of that, and I refer back to that May 23 town meeting that we talked on the Axton Cross, there was funding that was allocated there that was reallocated recently that for 6.5 million that has been allocated towards this project. So the total cost remaining for from the low end to the high end range of projected costs are just over 41 million to just over 43 million. And this just correlates to our, projected square foot cost numbers of a 6% contingency, and then the escalation going from 654, and what that ends up with a $940 per square foot construction cost facility. That's where we are in the process. I'll touch up quickly here about next steps. We're going to continue developing the design. We're working towards the May town meeting deadline to develop, refine, and make the design as efficient and cost-effective as we can, pulling together our documents for that May town meeting. We're getting an independent cost estimate, and then we're going out to bid in November. And from there, it's going to be relocate the DPW operations to temporary facilities because they won't be able to operate when we start construction, and then into construction by the beginning of the year.
So from here, I'm not sure we'll have another update, probably until you as a board and probably us as a staff are happy to continue to update the board. But I think from Weston and Sampson's perspective, their pencils are sharpened and they're ready to start working on a more refined, I guess you would call it from conceptual to schematic design that we'll see beginning of April, that will be accompanied by a more refined price tag that we would go to town meeting with. And we'll have all of that in by deadline. We know it's a tight timeline, but we're going to make it work. Did you have something you wanted to add?
Well, I was just going to say, we appreciate the town jumping in, very weekly or bi-weekly meetings, whatever we do, to kind of all hands on deck to finalize the design and get everything.
We've had a lot of fun in this room.
I know, we do.
I think, so at this point, I think it might be helpful just to point out, one of the slides that David showed had the sort of two-site solution that at town meeting we mentioned in October. I think we talked about core operations at Arch Street with the potential for satellite operations at Central Street, which I think going into this exercise we were very open to it, knowing the constraints the size of the Arch Street site had. However, once we saw the price, we realized that we really needed to get creative and figure out a way to basically get off Central Street entirely. And so, and really there wasn't even much in that $7.8 million that was proposed for Central Street. We were talking about a 3-bay seasonal, non-temperature controlled garage, so basically for seasonal storage, a new temperature controlled garage for the ladder truck that was in there, and then due to the building code requirements, we were also going to be required to have bathrooms and associated septic system for the substation. So from there, James, Sean, Robert, myself, the fire chief, got into this room and brainstormed and figured out ways to utilize assets that we already have in town, to find other places for that seasonal storage, to maybe bump out one of the bays on Arch Street so that we could house a ladder truck there. And so I think, we had a lot of discussions about how to make that work, and I think we have a lot to be proud of about how we found creative solutions to bring down that price tag. But obviously there's still some work to do.
Yeah, and I think, for me personally, not speaking for the board, but I like the idea of having Central Street being cleared, that we can start to think about what we, at some point down the road, what happens to that site. So being able to not have anything there restricting our ability to make, as a community, a decision about what to do with that, with that space. I think the other thing to bring up before I let you folks, if you have questions or comments here, I think one thing we had talked about the other day was sending a letter to abutters of the Arch Street site. We want to just sort of let them know. I mean, maybe there's the two direct, but maybe we should expand that a little bit just to make sure that the people in the area kind of like, hey, here's what's we're talking about. Do you have thoughts at this point in the process before we get too deep that we want to do? So I'd look for the board tonight to just authorize Frank and James to reach out to those abutters in the immediate area, so that just to let them know, hey, here's what's going on, and just so you're aware, and if you have questions, comments, thoughts, anything like that. And then the last thing is once we kind of get into April and we're talking to you about those dollars, I propose that we also have a forum as another DPW forum, because it's just been too long since we had one.
Yep.
We should just do another one. But this way we can have an opportunity to sort of talk about the plans and see if there's questions and things like that, and give people an opportunity, so it's not town meeting floor, to try to get some of those things. And again, probably reach out to those abutters, let them know, hey, we want to talk about this, please let us know what your thoughts are. Sure. And we can really start to talk about it, because I think probably the thing that people are going to want to talk about are dollars and cents. And I appreciate you trying to value engineer, I think was the term that you used, to try to find ways to bring those numbers down. Because it's not just can we build it, it's can we sell it. Like we have to make sure that people are on board and are comfortable with this. And we want to make sure, like, as we, I'm sure we're invited to the MSBA process, so we're talking about a high school, so we want to be able to sort of talk about the DPW and high school. We don't want people to start pitting them against each other. So we want to make sure that financially that we have a plan to go forward, and that these things are affordable. So I'll stop talking and see if Tina and Damon have comments, questions, or thoughts right at this time.
Yeah, a couple. So I think this is probably for Frank, although jump in. So we saw the range there after we removed the 6.5 million already allocated. We saw a range of 41.19 up to 43.13 million. If we were going today, we have a placeholder on the warrant for this article. If we were going today, we would be putting in that 43.13 million today. We're going to target the higher end as we go into town meeting for appropriation.
If we were going today,
For the article.
I would assume we would target the higher number.
Okay.
But I think, I think in David and Alex, I don't want to speak for you, but I think a lot of the numbers that you have right now are, what's the right way to say this? You have square footage, and you just multiply that number by the square footage. You
It's
have
a high level,
acreage. Yeah, it's not site specific, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, it's...
Well, some of them are, but
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
right,
getting there.
Right.
But it is a high level.
Right.
So that will be what we're going to target in May will be an independent cost estimate.
Right.
And that's going to be very specific.
Right.
Okay, so it'll be quite a different number than what we've seen presented. Not just size of the number, but how the number's been calculated. We'll see
Yes.
something significantly different
Right.
as we go to the town meeting with the warrant ready to go. Got
Right.
it. That's helpful.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. A couple things. You went over some of the changes that were made. You mentioned right at the outset that from day one, this was a tight site, and that was going to have to be looked at really carefully. You spoke about some changes, some operational considerations, and so on. Are we losing anything on this site that you would want the board to know that you're not going to be able to accomplish this? It was in the outset. It was a goal for this program. Because of the site constraints, we're moving in a different direction. Is there anything that we should know? I didn't hear anything, but I just wanted to ask that.
Okay. Operationally, we are anticipating growth into the building.
Right.
So we're not shoehorning the Public Works and the Water Department into a building that if they hire another employee, that there's not a locker for them.
Okay, so more staff potential in
So,
this
yes,
building.
so
Got
there's
it.
room in the plan. Now, the site is nonetheless constrained. It's
Yep.
going to, be bounded by a salt shed and an open canopy. But there's room there to store all the materials that we've reviewed with the DPW and what they expect and what they anticipate. So it does accommodate the program.
Okay, great.
Yep.
And future plans for something like, say, not committing this board or the town to future decisions, but solar. We're not removing that, taking that off the table. There's a future where we could outfit what you're proposing with solar.
There is. We make all the steel frames for the pre-engineered building have the capacity for solar arrays. on the
Okay,
roof.
got it.
It's a perfect opportunity, as you can see from the plan.
Okay, yeah, two more questions, comments. It's really nice to meet you, Alex.
Nice
I'm
to
not
meet
sure
you
we've
as
met
well.
you at other
Nope.
meetings, so, and you're project manager, you'll be project manager probably through till completion of construction?
Correct.
Okay. One thing I would point out, and when you had that image up that showed all the white boxes, and I asked the radius on those, this is a very residential neighborhood. The comments that you were making about excavation had me thinking about the number of trucks loading, removing earth. Because when you excavate and leave a 14-foot wall, I imagine you're removing a fair amount of earth from the site.
Yeah.
Just to appreciate that. That rail trail has two very low bridges, one on Arch Street and one on Exchange Street. I imagine much of the truck traffic will be coming from the heavy vehicles rather that are removing soil or bringing in materials are coming off of Washington. It is the major road in our town. I just want to make sure that directions for those when the time comes, I'm not sure if we're going to have another opportunity where I can speak so bluntly here, that they're not trying to access the site through Arch Street or Exchange because they won't fit.
Okay.
Okay.
And when they don't fit, they end up sort of rolling through the neighborhoods, looking for access.
Yeah.
Right.
So glad you're here, Alex, because I'm happy to be able to share like boots
Sure.
on the ground,
Oh, yeah.
residential information here. Those bridges can't allow
Okay.
a truck to pass.
Nope.
And I think neighbors during the construction period would be quite unhappy
Oh,
with
I'm
the
sure.
trucks turning and then they're backing up and then they're,
Right.
it's a problem. So I just wanted to push that out
No, and
as a
thank you
comment.
for that information, and that'll be definitely noted once boots are on the ground.
And this is a funner one, but similarly, there are blueberry bushes
Okay.
on the site. So if you're able to preserve those,
All right.
Okay.
I know the neighborhood, which will go
Right.
down there with their children and pick blueberries, would appreciate them. I don't see anything on the designs that shows they wouldn't be there, but I'm just going to raise up the value of those little blueberry bushes. That's a little less serious. Last question. Have you, in the past couple of years, in building buildings like this, have you worked with building committees through the project? Is this something that you're familiar with?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, like
Yep.
community building committees that
Absolutely.
are, okay.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Sure.
Tina touched on a few of my points, but I'll add a few here. I think, first of all, the mezzanine space that you described, that was unattributed space, right? So that is space that cannot probably be used for office space in the future because it's an open overhang. It's more storage.
Storage.
space.
That's
Yep.
exactly right. Yep.
Right. Just want to make sure, because we're talking about potentially having future growth. There is a limit from what I saw to what we can actually add. It's just, it is what it is.
Right.
Okay, just want to make sure that
Yes.
that mezzanine space didn't have a novel use that I was not
Okay.
thinking of. Okay. Second one, if I remember the site map correctly, I think the place where you're going to put the parking area is rather close to one of the residential abutters. I could be wrong on that. I'll take a look at the map. But I'm wondering if, I'm assuming that you'll probably put in some kind of like visual barriers, if possible, to help with that. Again, I'm not asking for that at the moment, but that'll come, I'm sure. But I just want to note that. I'm sure that the abutters, there's only, I think, 3. Direct, right? But, someone in there will have those concerns. I'm just asking to be mindful of that. We've gone through a lot of conversations with a lot of potential abutters and potential spaces. We're not going to make everyone happy. I just want to be really respectful to the people who are, in fact,
No, I
next to it.
appreciate that, and we have discussed berms to kind of hide or mask the new facility.
Yeah, more to come. I don't want to get into the
Yep.
tactics here, just putting that corn in the
Absolutely.
jukebox.
And vegetation, yep.
Yeah, and then the final one is just, I think that obviously you're going to be doing the independent confirmation of the costs. I think that's going to be a key strategic component.
Yep.
There's what I would generously call a healthy degree of skepticism on all cost estimates provided by consultants in this town.
Okay.
So the independent confirmation of those costs is a very strong and important part of the narrative when we go in front of town meeting to
Okay.
make sure that people understand there's nothing amiss, even though we're here and close to the process and know that's not the case. Narratives are often out of the control of politicians in their towns. So just putting that on.
Okay, good
Understood.
job.
That's
Terrific. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Daniel.
I think one other question I had was, I think we were doing some soil testing in the area. Has that been completed? You know, I think that's...
Yeah, we were doing some
Yep.
test pits and some borings to get the geotech assessment done, as well as
Yep.
taking the samples at the same time, so
That's right.
piggybacking onto that to get the hazardous material profile.
And there's a full geotechnical report that's just about ready to be shared.
Okay. Yeah, you don't have to,
Yep.
if you don't have the details, it's fine.
Mhm.
I just was sort of like...
Oh, yeah.
Just try to
Yep.
just reconfirm that where we were in the process.
Yeah, we're doing all that site reconnaissance, survey, flow test,
Right.
test pits, so we
All
got to
that
know
fun
the
stuff.
foundation. Yeah. Those are all
Yeah, stuff we got to do.
big components.
Especially with a facility that's been there for a long time.
Exactly.
One other question. We'd heard, certainly from our DPW deputy director, that there was a concern over one of the culverts. I imagine that's fully incorporated into the site development costs. I do remember hearing that was something that would, right out of the gate, probably need to be addressed. So as long as that's come up in conversation, it's been considered, we're all...
I think we have to do it before this project even gets off the ground.
Yeah, that's what I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think we're actually, we're already working on
It's
it.
already been...
Robert's already,
Great.
Yeah, they're
Thank you.
already- That's already...
another one coming in under budget, actually. Well,
Great.
God did I say that?
And then I think, one thing is, can we take I'd like to, whether or not we need it, I'd like to have a vote, a motion to authorize James and Frank to reach out to the abutters. I'd probably just make it a little further, like appropriate abutters, I
Sure.
guess would say, to just sort of make sure that they're aware of the plans and that they, send them a letter telling them what's going on, and let them know that we want their input and that there will be an opportunity for a forum as well. But certainly, if they have particular questions, concerns, thoughts, we'd love to hear from them and make sure that their feedback is incorporated.
Yep, absolutely.
Move to direct the town manager to create an abutters list for interested neighbors, not interested, but abutting neighbors in the general area, to notify them of the DPW progress, new facility progress and plans for town meeting vote, as Ben said, and a forum.
Yeah, making sure that they're aware of the process and that they're looped in as much as possible.
Yep.
Appropriately.
I will second that compound motion.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
So, Frank, if we could, you and James could
Yep.
reach out to those folks. And then I think the other question is that, we had talked about a building committee, and I had talked to some other folks. I do wonder if, adding some of that layer is necessary at this time, but I don't know. It might be premature. That could be something maybe we revisit or something like that, but I don't know what Tina and Dana, what you think about that at this time. And we sort of went back and forth about some of the details of it, but I don't necessarily know. I know that there are Weston and Sampson's already meeting with facilities director, town manager, fire chief, and certainly the DPW director and highway superintendent. So there's definitely stakeholders that are communicating and talking through some of these things and understanding that. But I don't know. I just kind of wanted to hear what you think of. You should go ahead.
As a preliminary, as an early conversation, I see many benefits. This would need to come back to the board with a more detail, particularly what that charge would look like. But I don't see, let me rephrase that. Every conversation we've had to date about the DPW facility has been tied to a couple different issues that I think a municipal building committee that's more general, so not necessarily a specific DPW building committee, but a municipal building committee could address. So the idea of what happens to Central Street is something that in time could land before a municipal building committee. We heard earlier at the start of the meeting that the center has some questions about building. So I think we have a broad set of needs that we at least as a board hear from the public. Maybe not our department heads saying that this would be a value. I'm not saying they're for or against. I'm just saying we do hear from the community a fair amount about what's going to happen to, say, Central Street when this is over. So I see a benefit there. I liked some of the information about the school building committee charge, and one that was presented, the Concord example, and one was they become the face of the place for community groups to go with questions. That could be of value here with the DPW project. I don't have, you obviously have experience with building committees, and perhaps there's some conversation prior to our next meeting about what that could look like, where they add value, and maybe they don't add value in your professional opinion, and maybe we want to hear from our department heads on how they feel about it as well. But as an early conversation, I think I have a strong interest in learning some more about it. I can see some benefits. I absolutely can see some drawbacks.
Well, I heard you say a couple things. Are you talking about, like, because we had briefly talked about a municipal building committee.
That's probably where I'm leaning more.
I think, I think that would probably be an October conversation, whether or not I'm in it, who knows. But I think that is something that I think the town needs to address simply, if for no other reason than the fact that we have lots of different independent boards with buildings, and getting us all in the room to sort of think about those things, I think could be helpful.
As it relates to the DPW project, I would say Central Street rises to the top of.
And that would be part of absolutely. So that would certainly be something that they could make recommendations for. Yeah, I mean, but I think, what do you think about just the DPW, a DPW specific one beyond the?
I do not have an opinion tonight on
Okay,
that.
that's fine. David?
Actually, I'm in the same boat. I like the idea of a broader committee to discuss these issues in general.
Yeah.
I do not have a strong opinion on this specific one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, then we can table the DPW and just address it at another time if it needs to move forward. At this time, and we're not going to talk about it tonight, basically. Anything else? Any other last thoughts from the board here?
Anything for us? I mean, we're moving ahead, and we're
we're looking for.
Our goal is May.
We want to see, Lori see in early April, and because I think the ballot closes, because it would have to be a ballot question.
April
14th
6th, I want to say, yeah.
It's like 14th. I think we'd want to
Yeah.
have something probably like end of March, early April, to be able to discuss and make sure that we're comfortable with.
That's what
moving
we're
forward,
targeting.
to try to piggyback on that, and go from there.
Yeah,
Great.
steam ahead.
Sounds great.
Terrific.
You
Thank
guys
you.
have been great
Appreciate your time.
partners.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Nice to see you again.
All right, good to see you.
Nice to meet you.
Ben, just to provide some context about that $41 million figure.
Yeah.
I know we had talked a little bit about the average tax bill impact and socializing that number early on as early as possible.
Yeah.
So we've run through a few different scenarios. Some of those numbers that Weston and Sampson has provided include contingencies and escalations. So there's a lot of different factors that go into what the average tax bill impact would be for something like this.
Yep.
Interest rate, whether or not we opt to structure our debt with a level debt service payment structure or level principal payment structure. Level principal, your payments decrease over time, but with level debt, they start a little bit lower than what level principal would be, but they stay flat for the duration of the bond.
Like your mortgage.
Right, exactly. So if we were to assume a 4% interest rate, which is probably a little bit higher than what we would ultimately get, a 30-year borrowing and a level debt service borrowing, we're probably looking at a neighborhood of $250 plus or minus $50 or so in terms of an average tax bill impact. And again, that's on the average home in Holliston, which is assessed at about $730,000. So you think a lot of people would be paying less than that. A lot of people would be paying more than that. But again, there's a lot of different factors that go into that. That $250 figure also assumes $1 million offset from the general fund.
Thank you.
Which we have more capacity to offset than that, but that total would just be used for sort of tax bill outlook purposes.
Yeah.
So again, I think the board has really been transparent throughout this entire process, and just to keep with that theme, that's sort of the assumption that we're working on right now internally.
And I think there's a lot of work to do on that, because we sort of have to look at a bunch of different things and finding ways to manage those numbers, but also to try to minimize the spikes and things
Yep.
like that for residents, and making sure that we're thinking about it. I think there's a lot of work to do on that side to get to a comfort level with some of those numbers and things like that, to make sure that we're borrowing at the right rate and things like that for everybody.
One thing that we've been working on internally is sort of a 10-year outlook of, estimated tax bills with different, we have DPW, high school on the horizon, and so we're fine-tuning that a bit. And so perhaps when we get closer to the estimate being provided by Weston and Sampson, we can sort of roll that out and figure out what the, the board's preference is in terms of, the long-term financing for the project.
Okay.
Just thinking about the forum, of course, we've been doing forums all along.
They're so fun.
They're
very
good, and
informative.
they're
Informative, yeah.
good practice for future efforts, and informative for residents for sure. When you mentioned a forum before town meeting, and now that you're talking about some of the projections you're doing, and we're talking about tax bill impacts and so on, I think there's more we could fine tune about what that forum ahead of town meeting would include, because the person walking into that room to hear the information presented is drawn in for one reason, but there's also an opportunity for a lot of education. So just thinking about the true intent of a public forum a few weeks out from town meeting.
Okay.
So I think there's a great opportunity there. I wonder how we'll approach that in a way that is getting people where they're at for what they're looking for, and making the most of the opportunity. I'm not sure. I guess what I'm really trying to say is I'm not sure anyone's walking into that room ahead of town meeting looking for final plans on the DPW. And I don't think they're going to be ready to do that, to
No,
say
but
it's
we
going to
also-
look like this and
Yeah.
sit like that on the land. So they're probably coming. Maybe we're
probably-
ready for that
well-
before we go out to bid.
No, but we could address that, when we get closer to that. But I
Yeah.
think at the very least, this is, at the end of the day, this is a forum that's going to be talking about the dollars and cents.
Right, and that's why I'm sort of thinking well, maybe an opportunity there to have a very good conversation about dollars and cents in general.
Yeah. We also want to make sure that we don't create an agenda that people don't want to go to.
Sure, sure.
I mean, we like municipal finance. I mean, we talk municipal finance, but I know, like, when Travis did his municipal finance stuff upstairs, it was awesome, but it was also not a lot of people came. And I want to make sure I want to make sure that we're doing something that we can capture people talking about these things and thinking about those things. And I appreciate what Tina's saying, but maybe it is a little bit more of a town meeting forum where we could talk a pre-meeting forum. But let's table it for now, and let's put some thought into what that looks like, and maybe we can have some conversations.
Sure.
We've got a little time, so we don't have to have an answer right now. But I think Tina raises a good point about maybe we expand it a little bit to beyond just a DPW forum, but at the same time we
I don't actually know what I'm saying. What I'm really saying is pull back the curtains on the high level thinking that goes on in these decisions. So I'm listening to Frank, and the level of detail there is tremendous, and we have firm controls in place, firm hands on the steering wheel, so to speak, and it's an opportunity to pull back the curtains and let people see the process by which these decisions get made, not in a detailed way, but I like what you're saying, Frank, and I think people would really appreciate hearing the type of projections and analysis that goes on when we look at the type of debt we're going to need for DPW. And I think that's probably what is going to draw people into the room. So if it's a chance for Frank to shine and his team to shine, how we go about it, analyzing and making these decisions, I'm all in on that. So that's really what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, let's move on to the annual town meeting budget updates. Frank, what do you have for us for?
No major updates from me. I think we just want to keep this on as a recurring agenda item for us to have through town meeting.
Okay.
I did add one article onto our placeholder list from the town clerk. She's interested in working with the animal control officer to update our animal control bylaw to come into compliance with some new state regulations.
Okay.
So I think that's more of a could be
I-
more of a, sorry, go ahead.
No, please finish up.
I'm not sure if it's a housekeeping thing or if there's some, more broader changes that will take effect, but her and I were discussing that today, and I think I'll have more information for you
Okay.
next week. In terms of the budget, the Finance Committee has started their budget reviews. They started last week. They'll continue tomorrow.
Okay.
They'll take a little bit of a break before your meeting on the 28th.
Okay. A couple things that I was going to add here to mention. The first is I talked to some folks at the Hub. I have a second update on this, but they were asking about potentially an article on the warrant. I don't have the language. They just said that they were going to do they were asking they were trying to do a citizens petition, and I said, well, let me bring it to the board and see if they're open to it. I think without language, I don't think any of us can commit, but at the same time, I think I could reasonably say, yes, we will listen, and we will see if it's something that we would be comfortable putting on the warrant. But having not talked to either of you about this previously, I just wanted to bring it up and see if you had any thoughts or concerns about that taking place. Again, I don't know the specifics. They just said, hey, we have some things that we want to put forward, and they had not given me language at that time.
Paraphrase on what they're looking to discuss?
I think it's financial. So they're looking for, I don't 100% know, but I think basically what I'm saying is that we should give them a placeholder, and we'll at least allow them to come forward with language and say, hey, this is what we're proposing, and we could say, hey, great, we'll put that on there, hey, you should go through a citizen's petition. That's kind of what I'm saying at this time. So I realize it's vague, but but I also want to give you the heads up that it's coming. That's all.
We were at 34 articles,
Yes, and now I have 36.
36. And right now, there is or is not one that is a feasibility study for the MSBA program.
There is.
So
As a
within-
placeholder, yep.
There's a placeholder within the 36. Thank you.
The second point I'm going to make here too is for the summit on the 28th. I think a couple things that I wanted to try to propose. I had talked to the Finance Committee Chair about some suggestions and some thoughts about that. I think a couple things that we can do leading up to that is sort of give here's the standard questions we want to have answered by the presentation, and thinking about some of those things to best use our time and use the time of anybody who's participating in the process. And then what I will put together is some hey, this is what I'm thinking about for how this goes. Here are the questions, something like that, in anticipation of our next meeting, which is before the summit, so we both can see it. And if you have any thoughts about it at that time, hopefully I'll get to you before then you'll be able to say, hey, can we change that? Can we add this?
Sure.
Do whatever. But just thinking about if we're going to have the same 4 questions, hey, I could probably say with certitude that we would say, we want to know what changed in your budget and what caused those changes. That's a reasonable question rather than us asking it. We just say, make sure your presentation outlines that kind of thing.
Sure.
And just to prepare people for that exercise. So I'll have something, I'll talk to the Finance Committee Chair too, just to make sure. He's like, hey, does this work for you? Because the intention here is to try to make this more efficient for department heads. So they're making one presentation, and then if the Finance Committee can review those presentations rather than hearing the exact same presentation a second time, if there's ways that we can do that. And the third thing I have is one of the things that I'd like to ask you to do, Frank, we had talked about it, but I'm just going to bring it up here too. Are there opportunities or places that we could look for efficiencies across budgets? Licenses, contracts, anything else that we're not thinking of? I'm sure we do a lot of those things, but making sure that we're utilizing as many efficiencies as possible. I know we have there's a town-wide, paper contracts, so everybody's paying the same rates and things like that. But finding any of those things, and then, maybe even trying to talk to the schools to make sure. I know we do all these things, but just, let's make sure that we're continuing those conversations and see if there's, places that we could find some kinds of efficiencies and things like that to best use our dollars.
Yep.
And I think just making sure that, as you're going through this, is from the town manager budget perspective, you could say, hey, well, wait a minute, are these two connected, or are these two something that we could find something for? So that's one thing I just wanted to throw out there and sort of say something about that. That's all I have. Do either of you have any comments or thoughts about town meeting budget at this time?
No.
Okay.
Caveat, I just got off a plane.
Totally understand.
Caveat, I'm eyeing the clock.
I know.
The brain is stuck on the agenda.
It's only
packet
8 o'clock,
received
Tina,
from
for you,
Frank.
right?
That is
You
quite
know
a
what?
bit.
That's a good point. It was only 8 o'clock.
Oh, just kidding.
Totally fine. But I mean, also like putting these things out there, and then you can ponder it, and you can always give Frank some information if we needed to. And that's all I have for that. And any last thoughts on number 4 before we go into public
I
comment?
didn't. Nope, nothing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, so let's move on to public comments. You're good? Do you want?
No, just quickly.
Yeah, come on up.
Quickly because of time, but I just wanted to remind the community, Stacy Raffi, 20 Hampshire Street, not remind you, that tomorrow night, Tuesday, February 10th, is the Opportunities and Pathways Night at the high school. This is an open invitation to anybody in the community. Principal Liz just put together this evening program so that you can see all the great things going on in the high school in terms of the different pathways and tracks that students have opportunities. Like, did you know that there's a global citizen pathway? And what does that mean? And what are some of the cool things that happen in that track? Like, I don't know, a trip to Paris and France where they learn, France and Italy where they learned about sustainable farming, etc. So there's, tons of stuff going on at the high school. So we just cordially invite everyone 6 to 7:30 p.m. tomorrow, Tuesday, February 10th.
At the high
So
school.
hope to see you there at the high school.
Wonderful. I will be there. Thank you.
I'll see you there.
Thank you. Anyone on the Zoom have any public comment this evening? You can raise your hand under the reaction button. And don't fret if you miss your opportunity at this time. Feel free to email the town manager's office, and we can get your comments read into the record at a future meeting as well. Okay. All right, select board member updates. We're moving on. So, Tina.
Well, it's the benefit of being the clerk. I get to say some things first. So I'd like to just welcome Cheryl to the table. First day, Frank, was Wednesday. Yeah, so it's lovely to have you here. Maybe you'll join us often, but it's certainly not expected to have both of you. We're privileged tonight, but welcome. I have no other updates.
Okay.
Very, very minimal. I won't go into them specifically here. I did have a couple of community organizations reach out with questions about like general budgeting and such, and what I'm going to be doing for next steps is actually putting them in contact with the right boards and individuals in the town. I'll bring them back if they go from idea to anything more substantive.
Okay, cool, awesome. I have a couple. The first is just wanted to congratulate these schools on choosing a new superintendent. James Camel Carter was chosen by the school committee last week to be the new superintendent pending contract negotiations. I met him when I was in the screening process, and he's a wonderful, effervescent individual who has a real joy and passion for learning and teaching, and I think he's going to be a wonderful addition to the community. So when he gets closer, we can welcome him formally, but just congratulations on that process. My second update was the Super Bowl the other day. I know Frank did that too. At the not the one yesterday. That wasn't so super for us.
I was
anyway.
going to say, what are you talking about, my friend?
At St. Mary's, the food pantry did their annual soup bowl. My wife said to me, I don't see any advertising for this, and then I find out why, because they sold out. So why would they advertise if they don't have any place for people to go? So it's a wonderful event, lots of great people coming together, having lots of really good soup, And thank you to the food pantry. I noticed all the pictures. There's some wonderful people, and I didn't see Karen Jewett in those pictures because you're probably taking them, but she's a huge part of that process. And thanks to Karen and to Steve and to all those folks over there who work so tirelessly to help other members of the community. So thank you very much to the food pantry for putting on that event. It was a great event. My third thing to bring up in my meeting with the hub, the Holliston hub, that new meeting for HCAT, they one of the proposals I made, and I wanted to just bring it up and sort of see what you both thought of it, is that, so we do our town, the town hall digest where we put out our updates, and we have links to the meetings. I suggested that could we make our link the YouTube link so we could send, if people want to look, they can use the YouTube link to at the hub. It's probably a little bit buffered a little better than trying to go through Google Drive when you get the ones through the website. But it's also giving them an opportunity. Maybe we can feed a little bit of traffic towards them. It might not, so I was just thinking about that and encourage others to do the same as they join in the Town Hall Digest if their meetings are recorded by the hub. So that's all I have for board updates at this time. Now we get the Frank Gervasio show. We get warrants, and then we get your updates.
I will be very quick.
Sure.
So 2 approved warrants since we last met. January the 26th for $2,522,493.38, and on February 2nd, $1,645,834.51. Also, since we last met, we have received a number of donations: $180 for the for the center for pool sticks, another $2,500 donation from Silicon Andhra for the center again, and the one more name I had to write down separately. We had another donation for $500. I think it was the right word is a bequeathment. Someone bequeathed that $500. So thank you for that generosity. In terms of actual other updates, nomination papers are now available for several elected town offices, including the Select Board, School Committee, and Library Trustees, ahead of the May 19th, 2026 town election. The deadline to collect signatures is March 31st, 2026. The May 26th town meeting warrant is open, as we've discussed in these meetings. Residents can submit articles for the May 11th, 2026 town meeting by the date the warrant closes, which is March 9th, 2026. As we approach town meeting and the budget process continues, a reminder that the Select Board will hold their all-day budget hearing on Saturday, February 28th, here at Town Hall, also virtual. The Finance Committee has also begun some of their budget review process meetings. Those recordings are also available online. As the Norfolk Street infrastructure upgrade project continues, there are several water shutoffs and traffic detours expected this week. On Tuesday, February 10th, that's tomorrow, water will be shut off on Cold Spring Road from 7:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. and traffic detoured through Shaw Farm Road and Clark Drive. Later this week, on Thursday, February 12th, water will be shut off on Goulding Street and Dudley Road from 7:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. and traffic detoured through Holly Lane. Please plan accordingly and consider storing water for essential use during this planned shutdown. A couple of other DPW-related updates. As a reminder, Marshall Street Recycling Center is now closed on Sundays, only open Saturdays, and the on-street parking ban from 11 p.m. at night to 5 a.m. remains in effect, especially during the snowy season. We want to make sure that the roads stay clear. If necessary, DPW is still completing snow removal operations, so we want to make sure that the roads are clear during those times. Since the Select Board last met, we've received exciting news regarding the town's downtown sewer initiative. Congressman James McGovern's office has officially secured $1.092 million in congressionally directed spending to support this project. We extend our sincere appreciation to Congressman McGovern and the rest of our federal delegation for their continued support of this project, and we continue to look forward to working with them, with our federal delegation and state delegations and other community stakeholders to bring sewer infrastructure to the downtown. The Sewer Commission meets this Thursday, February 12th at 6 p.m. to discuss this and other project information. As Ben mentioned, I attended the Super Bowl on Friday. We had a lot of fun. It's a very impressive operation they have at the pantry. I toured the day after the big snowstorm. So many thanks for having me. And that is my town manager update for February 9th. The Select Board meets next on February 23rd.
Quick question. Could you reach out to Representative McGovern's office to find out when he's holding office hours in his district?
Sure.
I think I would like to go in person. He's been here before when he's been in town for office hours, and he's met with staff and board members. I've never had that opportunity, but especially given his work to bring the money to the downtown sewer project, I would absolutely take the opportunity to go to his office hours now, if my schedule allows. So if you could get a set of dates.
Yeah,
You
that
have
would
a
be great.
contact, just say, when's he next in the district?
Yep.
Would love to connect in person
Yeah.
to say thank you for his efforts.
We have been, not to hold him to anything, but we've been talking about having him come and tour the downtown to see what the sort of impacted area would be and the different opportunities that sewer would bring. And obviously, there's a lot of different angles there in touring the downtown. We would walk right past the food pantry, which is obviously a great community organization. All the small businesses in that area that would really benefit from the sewer being in the downtown. So hopefully, we'll get something on the books soon.
And I think politicians sometimes in the past have sat down and have a beer. So maybe he stops at Rushford and Sons as well.
Oh, okay, great.
Sure. Damon, any?
Good to go.
Okay.
Yep.
Excellent. Well, we have a couple golf course advisory committee members in our board business. I see Deb here. Did you want to make any comments, Deb? I don't want to put you on the spot but I just noticed you turned your camera on. If you're good, are you good?
Yeah, I just want to say that we're very happy to have the two candidates that have come forward, and for our associate member to move into a permanent full membership.
Okay.
We're very happy to have such great interest in our committee as we keep moving forward and trying to do a lot of capital improvements to make it the great place that it is, and to continue to increase the play at the golf course. So I'm very happy with these people that have interviewed with us, and we're recommending for their membership.
And that's Deb Moore. She's the chair of the Golf Course Advisory Committee who's making those comments. So, Deb, thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have any objection to those being consent agenda. I'm assuming you're both okay with that?
Yeah.
Sure, we'll just read the names where she
Yeah,
called
why don't we
out.
just read the names here?
We have a consent agenda to appoint Bruce Chapin and Zachary Lux to the Golf Course Advisory Committee in the positions stated on the agenda. So move to approve the consent agenda.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Deb, thank you. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
And then lastly, other business. I'll just be quick here. We're trying to work on getting our state legislators here before the process for the budget is concluded. We're still trying to iron out the details. It might have to be an off night because we don't meet that often, so it might have to be a different evening. But what we could do is maybe instead of, we could move things around and do some other business on an evening like that. So just trying to keep you apprised of that situation.
I actually did hear back from the Senate President's office and Rep. Rena DeRoche's office this afternoon. It's looking like March 9th might work, which I believe is a quote-unquote normal night. But there's actually 5 Mondays in March, so I guess it depends on what.
Well, usually we do 2nd and 4th. So I think
That would be a regular.
if that's a regular night, that would be perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, great. So, awesome. And any other business? Tim?
Nope.
Greg?
None for me.
Cheryl? All right. With that in mind, it is 9:21. I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes. We are adjourned at 9:21 p.m. Thank you very much for your patience this evening, and hope you all stay warm, and we will see you again on the 23rd.